Yo, 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 what is going on, RoK Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be taking a look at the second, or number two, ranked Imperium Kingdom in the game currently. That's 1365. We're going to be doing a server kingdom analysis and doing just a general breakdown, similar to how we did ours for 1846, the number one Imperium Kingdom currently, and this should be pretty fun. There's actually some interesting comparisons that I'll make as well from 1 to 2, and also just kind of give you a deep dive into some of the things that we talked about before and showing you some of the consistent trends as well, which I think is always one of the most fascinating parts about doing kingdom analysis, because it really allows for the average player to get kind of a high level overview on what are consistent things that they're doing, not doing, what are the opportunities, what are the strengths, and I always think this is a nice insight into kingdom management, organization, structure, direction, the whole bonanza, if you will. Now, before we get started, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell, and if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord, link to that in the pinned comment description down below. Okay, now that I got my Princess Pony Magic of Friendship Cup, it's my daughter's, but I like it. Let's go ahead and dive in. So we're going to start off taking a look here at Zone 3, as we did before in the previous. And from right now, it looks like there's 5. From what we can see, we have purple, so one has connected, second connected, so 2. 3 is pretty connected, but just not at the moment. And you have 1 for light blue, 2 what looks like to be pink, 3 red, 4 purple, 5 yellow. So you got 5 alliances in Zone 3. Comparing that with 1846, they had 7 alliances, Zone 3, right? So 2 less here in 1365 for one general observation. Then if we take a look at Zone 2, I'll start here just so we can kind of go zone to zone. I actually somewhat like this already. I like how it's a little bit cleaner, even though it does seem, maybe this is just because I see they're just connected to go for gold. So, okay. But still, I like how, again, it is a little bit less alliances. Looks like they're doing some clearing here, possibly on that. So you have, kind of 2, what it seems to be, main alliances there, or 2 alliances in one province for Zone 2. A third one here, and if we go to the right in another province for Zone 2, you got 1, 2, and again, this I will say this, I like what I'm seeing here, even though there are, still a decent amount of alliances in just these 2 Zone 2 provinces. When you compare from what we looked at with 1365, there was just a lot, all over the place, where they all had territory. And my thought is that, the only, it's difficult when you have a lot of alliances, like that many, right? When we counted like 20 plus, 21 I think there was in Zone 2. And that's just a lot. Like it's hard to maximize territory if you're looking to, one, get maximize the amount of gold nodes that you can give to those shells to boost them up if you're trying to boost tech or to get to some area of max tech, skill usage, etc. Because it's going to be pretty easy to max out general resources for your storehouse. You could probably take minimal of that and then more gold if you're just going to be focusing on boosting up shell alliances for fort drops, for skill usage, take advantage of tech at times. That's not hard, but usually what you're wanting to do ideally in that situation to be efficient is you maximize a certain number, you get those shells to a certain threshold, and then you build new shells and you reflag out that territory one by one, and you work it like that. So for example, if you know that basically what you would probably start doing is you would start prepping the shell somewhere in Zone 1. You start giving them a few resources. Once the established shell in Zone 2 gets to almost max, or to where you want to get it to, then you start scaling back the flags one by one. You delete a flag there on the new shell that you want to develop, you build a flag, so you're kind of min-maxing your efficiency in that way. And then, now you already have the shell, now you have that shell that's established. It doesn't really need territory for the most part, and now you basically have that saved and ready, it's prepped. Now you're able to start working on developing the next shell. And so I think it's just easier to do that, or I should say it is, when you have less shells that are spread out through your Zone 2 and your Zone 1, because you're able to maximize just a few more areas, mainly just with the available RSS spots. Okay, then we get to the last province here. Same thing. right? You got three, what seems like four alliances here in this last province for Zone 2. So again, I like this setup a lot more. This is actually a little bit more, now don't get me wrong, I'd like for it to be a little prettier, but I can understand having certain shells where, for example, in this one, right, that's connected with JST, where they still have access to multiple shrines. There might be some ways where you're just not going to get around, kind of being able to do a nice little, cookie cutter or pizza cutting split. But I do like that there's less shells here, that they're hopefully able to be kind of maxing out in that regard, and maybe they'll do some kind of shuffling, or maybe they just don't at all. But I just like that there's a few less here and it's not too overwhelming. Then we get to Zone 1. In Zone 1, let's take a look here on how this looks. So, yeah, I don't know. There is a decent amount here still, though I like how they're aptly named, BLN, and then have numbers attached to them. So that is something. And again, maybe some of the alliances, similar to what we saw, in 1846, that could also just be something where you end up having, some alliances that are just, being made, and you can't really, you're not really trying to like stop them from making a flag, but it's more so about the territory that they have. Like here, I mean, even if I just count, right, this is like 1, 2, 3, and obviously some of these connect further, so it's not, it's not kind of generally black and white in that regard, but what you have 3, 4, 5, no, that's connected, 5, 6, 7, 8 for yellow, 9 for light blue, 10. I mean, so again, it is less than a little bit of what we saw there in the First Kingdom, or for 1846, but now, right, we get to another province. I mean, still a decent, it just looks a lot. It looks like it's really jumbled in that regard, and, would be nice if maybe they worked on saying, hey, we're going to work on 3 alliances, right, in this zone, or we'll work on 4 or 5 or 6 alliances at a time, but, trying to be a little bit more efficient. Like, you look at this Fort East, and if I look here, what, maybe they have 1 gold? No, red actually has that. So, based on what they have, yeah, maybe they don't even have any gold. Yeah, they don't. But, I mean, again, I think it's, maybe this is just me, looking to try and have things be a little bit more efficient, where, and maybe if it's something, maybe they just have the alliance prepped, maybe they actually own it. But my thing is, you're going to track your alliances, you're going to know who owns which alliances, or who has R6, and even like this, like this province, right, still, pretty busy. I just would imagine, I mean, unless maybe there is some method to the madness by only having, 20 or 30 flags, 20 to 40 flags, and having a bunch of alliances. But to me, it just seems more efficient to where you can split up the gold nodes and work on developing a smaller amount of alliances in each of the zones, which when it's kind of like, you have a small amount here in each of the provinces for Zone 1. There's 6 of those, so you multiply that by 6. If you work on 3, that's 18. You got 3 in each province for Zone 2, that's 9. Now all of a sudden you're at 27. That's still a good amount of alliances that you're developing, and working on those shells for. And then I imagine at a certain point in time, maybe you just already have 50, 60, 70 alliance shells that you need. And then maybe it turns into a case where, I don't know, maybe you're just bringing people in at that point to level and develop in the kingdom. But even if that's the case, you would still want to try and designate them, certain territory, or even if they're just coming in to kind of boost in the kingdom and then contribute here and there. You can still have them fill out R4 spots and everything else while you still maintain R5 control, but just having almost like a selling point for kind of boosting activity. Maybe you get some people that join that are newer to the game, but because you've shown them such a good time, maybe they turn out to be spenders, right? I mean, it's one of those things where like sky's the limit. You don't really know what could or could not happen. Same thing here in that zone, this zone as well. I think there was like one or two. Actually, I like this a little bit better, right? This is kind of more ideal of what I was talking about, where you have yellow, you got pink is a little more established, blue a little bit more, maybe a lot more. So I like this province. This is a little bit closer to what I'm talking about, where it's a little more defined. It's not super busy, where you have 10, 8, 9, 10 alliances there. You maybe have what looks like to be one, two, you have three like main ones. You have green and then I guess orange here, but this is a little more clear. So this is actually kind of more of an ideal province that I'd like to see, or enjoy seeing more, I think, because of those benefits. Don't get me wrong, removing flags, rebuilding, having to re-level, like, yeah, that can be a challenge, but it can also give you something to do, which can be fun as well, to some. Okay, so we kind of took a look at territory and how that looks. Now let's go ahead and take a look at, well, we can't really look at any King's Mails because they haven't sent any yet. But what we can do is take a look at some boards. So we'll look at Alliance Power, JST, we got 16.1, 14. Now, also bear in mind, right, they are in KVK, I think, at the moment. And I'll show that real quick, just because I will have to mention that, right, 28 days left. So they are fighting currently. So again, what we're seeing now on the boards may look different, but I'm just going to speak to the generalities of it. So here you have, right, 16, 14, 13, 5, 13. So given that we're in KVK time, wartime at the moment, right, it looks like they're kind of funneling or pushing for 4 alliances. I think in what we ended up seeing there in 1846 was 3 alliances that were a little bit more of what the funnel there. You have about a 3.15 billion gap between 1 and 4. Again, I guess it just depends. I'm just a big fan of having, as closely balanced alliances as possible. However, KVK is one of those things where you're going to end up doing, I would imagine quite a bit of shuffling. So, the numbers might be JST now, maybe tomorrow, or in 10 hours, it could be BLN. Right? Just depending on who they're using for their vanguards, if that's the system that they have set up. So some of the numbers probably won't be super consistent, and it's probably easier to take a look at what that power, what the power differential looks like between 1 through 4, 1 through 6, however deep they go when it's non-KVK, non-wartime. But what I will say is that the 3.5 or 3.1 gap I don't think is that bad. However, if you can get the second alliance to 14.7 and you can kind of maintain a at-ready power balance in wartime, even if you do decide to funnel, or at whatever time, and obviously alliances that need the activity and the pressure at that point, then yeah, I think that's fine. Again, I would say the gap is a little wide. I mean, if you were able to get 3 and 4, maybe up to 2, that I think. But again, who knows what and how they go about doing it. I will just say generally, I'm a big fan of believing that power balancing and having a power closer than usual, right? Or I should say closer together than farther apart, is that it allows for people to feel that they're just as equally being considered and are able to contribute as much as the next alliance. And the players, when they're visually looking at the boards, that's something that they notice, especially, and this is one of the things I always hammer home, is that if you're in a kingdom where you have 1 or 2 alliances that just win all the events, that can be like a Debbie Downer. That can be demotivation. That can be demotivating for some players that are in the kingdom, because maybe they want to contribute. Maybe they want to invest into AVA, Alliance versus Alliance events. And it can be disheartening when they maybe decide that they want to invest, but then they wonder why the rest of their members or their alliance as a whole really isn't having that kind of equal opportunity to show off their activity contributions, because they notice that 1 and or 2 alliances are just always winning the events. That can be a turnoff towards players over investing. And for those that enjoy those types of events or situations where they want that camaraderie of engagement on those AVA events, that when they notice those things, because it can cause them to lower activity, lower their investment, lower their contributions, that can be like a bad seed that you really don't want to plant. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, now let's take a look here at some of the rankings. So individual power, right? This is what some of the top looks like. Now I did a comparison. So the number 1000 bubble player here in 1365 is at 44.8 mil. Comparing that with the number 1 Imperium Kingdom, which is 1846, their 1,000 player was at 68.34 mil. So you're looking at about a 23.5 mil increase, or less than what the 1,000 bubble player is, comparing the two. When I compared kills, the number 1,000 position kill here was at 133.3 mil. That's about 447 mil less than 1846's 1,000 bubble position player, which was at 580.82 mil. Then we have RSS, and the bubble position at the 1,000 is 11.6 billion here, and 1846 it was 13.27 billion. So you're looking at almost, whatever. God, if I can do some math here, 1.6. Sorry, 1.6. So you're going to about 1.6 billion. So that's actually a little bit closer when you think about just the resources gathered compared to the other two, where you're seeing, arguably a times four, and then you're seeing about a 33% increase or decrease, right, from one to the other. And then let's go ahead and take a look at some of the alliance announcement boards, right? Some of the best stuff that we always love taking a look at. So, and just as I always say, one of the things I really love looking at when it comes to the announcement boards is that, to me, this really shows a form of unity, right? It really shows how well together your alliance is, because publicly and visually, at face value, this is pretty much what anyone can go off of, right? I mean, if you don't have access to Kingsmail until you get, this is what you're using. If people are coming in and just poking into the kingdom because they don't have an account here that they play actively to read Kingsmails, this is what they go off of. So alliance announcement boards are extremely important. So let's take a look. We'll look at the top 6. So this is the number 1 with JST. And wow. I want to be honest, that's a little bit lackluster. I was hoping for more, but unfortunately, realistically, expected about. Actually, I did expect a little more, though. I don't want to say I expected this, but I definitely expected just a little bit more. Again, what are one of the things we talk about? Put the Kingdom Discord in there. Put the Alliance Discord in there. Put some server rules, right? Even if it's just your top 3 server rules. How MGE is. How you guys do PvP in the Kingdom. Have your alliance contacts, right, plus discords. Have your alliance rules, right? Pretty simple format, but again, these things are really important if you're trying to get people converted onto your Kingdom Discord, showing that you have unity in the Kingdom. Who are your global Kingdom contacts? And then what are the server rules, right, if people want to come in, right? It's out of sight, out of mind. Right? Don't just rely on Kingsmail. Don't just rely on people that they should be able to join the Discord or you expect them. No. Put information out there so you make it easy for it to be digested from the average player. Let's look at BLN. Okay, this is a little nicer here. Ooh, I think there's some of my boys here from 1196. NK and Silent and Falco. These names are familiar to me. And let's see here. So we have Burning Legion, Fear is the Mind Killer, 1365. I like how they have, again, right, alliance contacts, but same thing, right? Kingdom Discord, have the alliance Discord, right? There's no excuse why you can't have these things in there, because you can gate off your Discord. So even if people join them, they won't be able to see anything. They have to verify first. These are pretty easy things to do. And from what I've seen, organized and like professional Discords do this, along with mine. Right, have that information, have the server goals, have whatever the server rules are, right, and some information on your alliance. It's rough to see this, but that's it. I mean, again, so let's look here. Alliances, again, no Discord names that are listed, though. That's something that's really important. Also notice how we really haven't seen any consistent formatting, with the exception of number 4 that we just looked at. And I think number 2, right, where they have kind of like the information, even though it's texted a little bit different, they have that plus just what the ranks are. But outside of that, there's nothing that says like, hey, United 1365, or, a part of the 1365 family, something that just shows you that they're united. Let's see here. Rough stuff for number 5. Let's look at 6. Oh, oh, my face hurts. That's it. So again, right, I don't really know if there's a need to kind of go down any farther than that, because you kind of start getting into that 3 for under 4 build territory. But this just goes to show you that, sure, maybe the kingdom could be unified. Obviously, if there was a Discord, we'd go and take a look at it, and I would show you that as well. Because I think it's really important that you have that information listed. So if people want to get information on the Discord, maybe they're interested in migrating, you basically have a reaction role where people can come and take a look at just what 1365 or a kingdom is about. And then you have like a migration channel. You can have like a link to a form that you fill out, right, depending on how you have it set up. But how we would do it, right, in kingdoms that I've ran, is you'd have it where you have the Discord there. You have a channel that's set up that gives you information on the kingdom, what the goals are, what the rules are, people that they can contact, and then there's a channel to type in, right? So if they just want to ask questions, if they're interested in where to go for migrating, they want to post some information, right? They can do that there. You have to think about how to be efficient and maximize what you can do in your kingdom to really show people that you are organized. You have a good structure. You're thinking about things in advance, and it gives the average player these flags, these indicators that, what, man, they really have their stuff together. Like, they're very well thought out. And these are just things to me that I just think are standard, right? Things that we would hope to do if we want to appeal to that general audience, as being, professionally competent, right, in a lot of different areas. And again, that's not to say that I don't think that 1365 is. It's just we don't have enough information, right? And again, that's what we also have to consider for any kingdom that we do analysis for, is what information are you giving us at face value? Because that's all we have to go off of. That's all we have to judge or to view it. If you might have big players that are just coming in and taking a look at the kingdom, but you have no public information that's available to give them, and you could be losing out on migration opportunities for people that may be fantastic assets to your kingdom, but you're losing out on that because you have no public information, right? That's why you can't rely on just sending out king's mails for people that come in there, because they have to actively play those accounts. You have to have information readily available. I'm so passionate at times. With that being said, that is pretty much it for me. Like I said, there was, again, a few things I really liked about 1365, right? Again, to me, if you have up to 9 alliances in Zone 3, that's fine. Again, we saw 5 here, 7 for 1846. I like that they had less alliances in Zone 2. That was a big one for me, even though they at least had a good amount. I thought it was really kind of near in that perfect bubble. There was at least 2 provinces in Zone 1 that I liked the amount of alliances they had. The other 4 provinces seemed to be a little bit overcrowding, right? At least to me, less than what we saw in 1846, of course, when you just think about overall all the alliances they had in Zone 1. So I liked that there seemed to be a little bit more method to the madness in 1365. Again, like that they had 4 alliances. It seemed to be that they were using going into KVK. I'm always a big fan of, having more but not needing it, compared to having less but needing more. So again, I love that. I wish we would have been able to actually read some server goals, things that they do. But again, we're not going to hunt that information down. Why? Because it's not our job to do that. It is a kingdom's job to have that information publicly available, so that way you are able to see what that kingdom is about, right? Big pro tip there. So far, that's something we've seen consistent from the number 1 Imperium and the number 2 Imperium, is lack of publicly available information. To be able to find. And that doesn't mean kingdom secrets. That just means general information about the kingdom that doesn't really affect another kingdom coming in and taking a look at you. If anything, it's something that maybe other kingdoms can learn from, right? With that being said, that is pretty much it for me. If you are someone that's in 1365, let me know what you think. As far as, again, whether you agree or disagree, with my assessment, you want to give me some context, some backstory. Of course, I'd love to hear. I know a few people from 1846 reached out, and they were very kind to give me some information and context about how the kingdom was being ran, some clarification in areas. So it was great to have a little bit of a back and forth there. But when we're looking at the information at face value, what I'm saying is not, we're not making anything up. We're looking at the information, and we're giving you our rational thought, right? Objective views behind what we're saying. And it's one of those things where, again, this is what we see, so that's what we're going off of. right? And it's really up to that kingdom to be able to present the information for us so we can kind of know what to do outside of my opinions on how many alliances I think, would be more efficient for Zone 2 and Zone 1, right, based on KVK prep and why alliances would build shells. Those are my feelings on that, right? Again, people can agree or disagree there, right? That I understand that is subjective, kind of per player and per kingdom management and leadership, depending on how they see fit to organize and set those up. Okay, that is it for me finally. Again, as always, I'd love to know your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments down below. That's it for me. Until next time, catch you later.